What's up, guys? Welcome to More Than a Conversation, episode number 10. And as usual, we are joined by my co host, Forever the Arrowverse.
What's up, guys?
And
I
forever,
was yawning, my bad.
but forever, me and you were just talking about this, but this is our first double digit podcast. We've officially hit 10 episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, it really doesn't feel like it has been that long, but 10 episodes, that's 2.5 months right there.
Yep.
And then
My goodness, I can't stop yawning. What the heck?
Bruh. And then by the time we do podcast number 12, we would have finished like a quarter of a year.
Oh.
And so time is going by, and it has been a blast, and we've enjoyed doing this each and every week. But as y'all noticed by the title of this stream, we are going to be reviewing the Blue Beetle movie. Now, Forever, what's your take on this movie from watching it so far?
It's one of DC's best movies, especially in the DCEU era.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the writer's strike and this movie being the first to release after The Flash, I think it would be doing very well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just got released in an unfortunate timing with the strike and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very fun and enjoyable film.
Oh yeah, there was several stuff all throughout the film. I was laughing uncontrollably throughout the movie. And we'll get to our ratings at the end of the podcast, but we have a segment in our Discord where we rate movies that we've watched, and my caption I had to put on my rating was George Lopez. I mean, that dude was absolutely hilarious this entire movie.
As that comedic relief in everything that he does.
Like, his character, I was laughing so hard every scene he was in. And it's funny because you hear like tips and teasers throughout the movie that he's gone through some stuff in the past, like he's done some questionable stuff in the past. But more than learning about what he did in the past, I want to learn what Grandma did in the past. Like,
no, for real.
Like,
but in the trailers, I assumed that George Lopez played his dad.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming too. Yeah,
that's what I was assuming. I mean, so I kind of like the uncle vibe though.
Yeah,
he played it really well.
He played a really
good
uncle, and the dad character they had for it, he did a really good job. And I hate to say it, but as soon as we started watching the movie and I started seeing those traits about the dad, I knew something was going to happen to the dad. Like,
bro, we almost cried in front of a full theater.
Yeah, I mean, we had to go watch this on National Cinema Day, and like legitimately, every theater room and every showing was sold out. We were barely able to get our seats just for our showing.
Yeah, it was a madhouse in there.
Oh yeah. But yeah, incredible movie. Lovable characters. And
there's not a single bad character.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's a single bad character.
Yeah.
I mean, the aunt is pretty annoying, but she's the villain.
You mean the mom?
No, of Jenny.
Oh,
yeah. She was pretty annoying, but she was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean,
because we're not supposed to like her.
Yeah, super.
She just had that she gave me that Karen vibe. You know what I'm saying?
She was giving mad Karen vibes.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a lady that I hated when her scenes came up. I was ready for it to go back to.
I didn't necessarily hate it. I mean, they weren't like great, but it was like typical like white woman obsessed with like this ancient artifact.
Yeah. Like that's a typical thing that exists for some reason. Like,
For some reason, man.
um, but I mean, and then we could also spend a minute talking about Jennifer. But
Brother.
I feel like if we start talking about Jennifer, then I'm gonna have to go grab Sammy.
Bro, you know, I went to Instagram and I was like, all right, I'm gonna follow this girl after the movie. You know, she has 44 million followers on Instagram.
Bro, what?
I was like, I was like, bro, this chick is like mad famous, and I've never even seen her before Blue Beetle.
Bro. Everyone had to start checking if that
For reference,
account was actually
reference, Zolo only has like 3.1 million.
real. Who's that? Sorry, I didn't hear the name fully.
Zolo, or however you pronounce his name.
Zolo.
How do you pronounce his name?
Which actor was
The
it?
guy that plays Blue Beetle.
Oh, I don't know. I just always call him Miguel. I mean,
Of course you do. Bro, when your brother was like, I'm not watching this movie for anyone but him. He's so daddy vibes. And I was like, bro, what? And then he moaned in front of a theater of like 400 people. I was like, bro.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, bro, you're fangirling way too hard for this guy.
Yeah, after the movie though, he was like, "Oh my gosh, Jennifer!" He was like completely switched up.
Like, forget this guy. It's Jennifer all the way. And he's like, at the end of the movie, she pulled up on that motorcycle and she took that helmet off and her hair floated in there.
Yep.
But yes, it was a really good and fun movie, to say the least.
Yeah, and I will say, you know, recently superhero films have been like this overly dramatic comedy movie.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of get that feel, but if you're gonna do comedy in a superhero movie, this is what it needs to be like.
Yeah. And so
it wasn't like, oh, well, we have to be funny at every single turn, but it was like the lines were funny and like the delivery that they give, that was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
but characters were incredible. Funny but not overbearing, kind of funny.
Right.
It wasn't really
Right.
it wasn't even like really goofy. Like it felt like a pretty on pace, on par movie, and it wasn't like retardedly goofy in it. And so yeah, now something that I analyzed in the movie. What if there's more scarabs out there? Because that's what that leading scene in the movie made us think.
I think there's only one.
No, because look, if you paid attention, whenever it zoomed in on the scarab, like floating inside that big orb or whatever, and it zoomed in and started focusing on the scarab when it was on its path to Earth. At the first breakaway point, when you first start following the scarab's trail, where it had its like little blue trail going through the galaxy before, getting hit by that thing and crashing to Earth.
Right.
When it first branched off, there was actually like 6 to 8.
So you're not saying that they're actually on Earth. You're just saying like that alien technology still exists.
Yeah.
And they're actually on there. That's a point you can make. But I thought you meant like on Earth.
No, not on Earth. The only way they would get on Earth is if someone brought it from outer space to Earth. Like a villain from outer space finds one of the scarabs, bonds with it, and then comes to Earth. Blue Beetle 2 question mark?
Mm. No, I think that post-credit scene is setting up Blue Beetle too.
Yeah, about the chance that Jenny's dad's still alive.
Yeah.
Well, it was a cool touch. I figured that whenever the aunt never came out and explicitly said that I killed your father, I knew that there was like I kind of felt he was still alive, because everything was pointing, missing. She says he went on this adventure and never came back, and then the aunt never came out and said I killed him. I knew that there was a chance he was still alive. But then
bro,
after
that conversation, when they were having that conversation, and then they were, in the room, and they were about to kiss, and his uncle walks in, and she's like, "Nothing happened." He was like, "Her mom died." And I was like,
I sat there and I was like, that is not what you say in front of this girl.
bro
When
went
she's going through some
straight
trauma.
there, dude. He was like, "Her mom died." And I was like,
Her mom died.
"Yo."
Oh my word.
That was probably the hardest laugh that I had in the theater in that movie.
Oh.
That was probably the funniest thing.
And then there was the other thing you noticed about the song choice after the father
Oh
passed
yeah.
away.
Yeah, so the dad had like literally died of a heart attack. All right? And then the next scene, they're literally in this Blue Beetle flying helicopter type thing. And the music that they play for the action sequence is Jumpstart My Heart. Or Kickstart My Heart.
Yeah,
or whatever. Poor song choice. Unless it was done on purpose, and we don't. Unless it was just done on purpose, but I don't think many people literally caught that. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, and and when you brought that point out, I was like, man, what a song choice! Of all the songs you could pick to go right after a heart attack.
Yeah. Exactly. Are you eating right now?
Quite possibly. I may be eating Hershey's cookies and cream chocolate bar with a Monster Energy on the side after I just got done eating some Alfredo alongside a pizza with some cheese bread.
Dang, bro.
You gotta be prepared for them pods. You gotta eat like a king.
Is the Wi-Fi fixed at your place?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, surely you're not still at work.
No. Which it wouldn't be foreign. I've been at work later than this before, so. But overall, the movie was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
What'd you think about?
I think I liked it a lot because it was an origin story.
Right.
And I think, especially in the superhero genre right now, companies and studios are wanting to veer away from telling an origin. I think it's super crucial to a character to tell it.
Right.
So it was nice to see, especially for a character like Blue Beetle that, doesn't necessarily get a lot of love in the comic. Right. And isn't really well known. But now you can start being like, okay, now you got an emotional attachment to the character because I really want to see a second and third film.
Yeah. You know what? The first time I saw Blue Beetle? Like, just
I tell you, when I first saw Blue Beetle?
No, the first time, I was introduced to the character of Blue Beetle.
Yeah, me too.
First time I got introduced to the character, I was a little kid playing on my Nintendo DS, and my dad bought us the Batman, the Brave and the Bold Nintendo DS game, and it was one of those games where you played as Batman or you could swap to a sidekick, and you could and for each level, like Aquaman was a sidekick, Red Tornado was a sidekick, But there was a
I
couple
got you.
levels where Blue Beetle was your sidekick, and that was the first time I got to meet Blue Beetle, other than watching like the cartoon
I
Justice League shows.
I first got introduced to Blue Beetle from Injustice 2.
Oh my gosh, man!
I was super late to it.
Bro was super late. Like
You gotta understand, like I don't
I
have
got
access to
introduced to the
comics.
character like early 2000s, man.
I don't even know the game that you're talking about, the Brave and the Bold game. I've never played that. I have no idea
Super
what that
iconic
is.
for my childhood.
I played the Arkham trilogy. Probably one of the best trilogy games out there. I'm really lackluster at playing superhero games.
Mm.
Other than Spider-Man and Batman, I don't think I've played anything.
I don't know how to feel about that.
I'm poor.
Well, I mean, oh no.
You feel like he makes a point.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, what'd you think of the costume design for the character?
I think it was done pretty well.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious. Like every time he exits his suit, he's butt naked.
Yeah, that's a very interesting touch.
I was like, I guess every superhero has to have their side effect, and I guess just being balls out is his.
For real though.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's interesting though because like as I think back over the character from the games I've played and from shows I've watched, I don't think I've ever not seen him in his suit.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had it either.
Yeah, and so it was cool getting to see that, and not just that, but getting a new take on the suit, which the suit was mostly looked like the way it did back in like the games and the TV show I watched. But it did definitely have a lot more of that black material in it. Normally he's more blue, but it had a lot of black in the costume this time.
I actually like the black.
Yeah, the black was a nice touch. The only like weird thing was like when he was doing that first suit up, like that almost looked
yeah, yeah.
like I was just like, dang, what kind of suit up is that, man? Like, I don't know.
Brutal.
I mean, yeah.
I think that was like only for the first initial.
Yeah, you noticed it speed up over the next few ones.
No, I'm saying like that was the first for the initial like host bonding situation.
Yeah. But as you notice, like as he started transforming, like later, it went way quicker because now they're bonded.
Yeah.
Other cool details I noticed. Whatchamacallit, when he finally bonded with the Scarab.
Mm-hmm.
When he finally bonded with the Scarab, we see the Scarab started talking in Spanish to him, back to him.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty dope.
I thought it was really dope because it was this kind of conflicting thing of you had the Scarab talking to him in English and he's over here like panicking and like saying Spanish randomly. However, once they finally bonded, you now saw the Scarab is now realizing his emotions, thinking how he thought, we don't kill people, and it's adopted his personality and his language traits. And so I thought that was just a really cool touch.
You know what this movie reminded me of?
What's that?
A lot like Iron Man.
Really?
The first movie. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why. The characters are obviously vastly different.
Before you get started real quick. Welcome to the stream. Diggs by the way 7. Thank you for tuning in. You popped in at the right time because we actually just ran through some internet issues and our pod actually ended in the middle of the stream. So we'll be splicing those two audios together so that y'all can have the full experience on my YouTube channel that you should totally go subscribe to, by the way. But you recognize the user forever?
I do not know.
Probably one of those 10,000 followers you have or something.
Well, maybe. But this film reminded me a lot of Iron Man, and not because like the characters are obviously like vastly different,
Right.
but it has like the same format of like getting some type of tech, right?
Right.
Iron Man obviously created it, but the basis of the movie was like the origin with like the villain being basically the polar opposite of you, of being the villain but also having the same technology that you perceive to have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So instead of fighting villain that's like, you know, Thor and versus like the God Butcher, you know what I'm saying, where that's like they don't have any similar powers or anything like that.
Right.
And it was kind of reminded me of Iron Man in a way. Plus, both of them get kidnapped, but you know.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you could like full on see like every scene is like the same, because it's not. I'm just saying like the foundation of the movie is like the same, or that could just be the foundation of like a origin story in general. It's just the first guy you fight is like the guy that has the same powers as you.
Right.
You know, we see it with Superman and Zod. Who knows? It could just be that general
Captain
basis,
America,
but
Red Skull type vibe.
yeah.
A lot of those people you see fight, their first villain tends to carry on a lot of those similar traits and abilities. Versus Abomination. All these origin stories. Which I think that's also just one of those traits of there's a type of symbolism there that I believe that if you like actually overanalyze it, you can see it of this hero. They're trying to get into this new mold. They're trying to move on with these new abilities or new traits. And so not are they just beating the bad guy, but it's like they're overcoming that newness as a character, and by the end of the first battle, they're going to have conquered their abilities. They're going to have, instead of the abilities being foreign to them and getting used to it, by the end of that first battle, you have legitimately beat yourself and know how to operate with your abilities or with your tech or whatever you have. So I feel like there's a symbolism there you can look at, but you can pick it apart all you want. Another thing I found interesting about Blue Beetle was the movie. It felt like a fun, lighthearted movie, right?
Yeah.
But it had some dark moments in it. Like moments that were actually kind of like like the first suit up, that felt pretty dark. Then there was when the Mexican scientist got killed in the lab, and you see like the blood splatter all over the window, and it's just like this just went from being a fun, lighthearted movie to like dudes getting blown up on a window.
It was so funny. It's like, bro, the scene before, like literally the bug helicopter literally farted.
Yeah.
And then it's like this guy's getting shredded to pieces.
Yeah. And it's just like there's a lot of like fun, lighthearted stuff in that movie. But that just had those couple moments where it was just like, ooh, that's a bit edgy.
Yeah. Bro, when it showed the background for the mechanical dude, like his mom died and everything.
Oh my gosh.
That was brutal, bro.
What was that? Vietnam is what I'm guessing.
I don't know. You're the history, not me.
I think Vietnam, because they're running through the jungles, the American uniforms look Vietnam style, and then also, I hate to say it, but the way the mother went out, let's just say a lot of
Oof.
Vietnamese went out that way with like
Oof.
American fighter jets flying over and just dumping an entire payload of napalm into the jungles.
Oof.
So yeah, I think we were talking about Vietnam
Bro,
there.
it was like super wild
What's that?
when he goes to sacrifice himself and he drugged the lady with him.
He just grabbed the lady by the collar of her shirt and just walked into the flames and just detonated.
That was crazy, bro.
I was just like, imagine that's the way you go out. Some giant robotic guy's got you by the collar of your shirt, drags you into the flames, and explodes.
That would be brutal.
And also, is it me?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's you.
We had Blue Beetle. He had two running away from like explosion type deals in the movie. Was it two or three? There was the ghost place that he was at with his dad, where he was running away from the world collapsing and had to jump. Then at the end of the movie, he was outrunning the fire and had to jump to get away from it. I feel like there was a third one somewhere in there, where he's having to outrun something. I don't know. Maybe that's my brain overworking. But yeah, I felt like we got a lot of Jamie running, to say the least. I felt like there's a lot of him running scenes.
His name's not Jamie.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Hyman is what his family calls him, but his real name was Jamie. Pretty sure.
Pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. They just pronounced it wrong because they weren't Hispanic.
So you're certain it wasn't Jamie Reyes?
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Hyman Reyes. Hyman doesn't even sound like a real name. I think it's just a family nickname, but we'll fact check that later. But what did you think of the whole ghost scene with his dad, of him like he's on the brink of death? And because
all right,
I have a couple like mixed emotions about that scene, and I just wanted to pick your thoughts on it.
We're gonna get juicy right now. You ready?
Ready.
You ready for this?
Yep.
That scene right there had a lot of similarities to what
Black Panther
was. Hold on.
Oh no.
What was the Flash's time traveling sequences in the movie?
Yeah, I see it.
Where it was like this other world type thing, right?
Yep.
And there was not one single bad CGI in this movie.
Oh, not at all.
And the Flash was like this utter garbage.
Right.
Of a CGI wreckfest.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah.
I don't mind like this. I think it was a beautiful scene, and it symbolized like a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I enjoyed it. I don't have really any mixed emotions for it.
For me,
per se,
when the scene first started, I'm like, ain't no way we're about to have another one of these scenes where the guy walks through some place he recognizes and sees some dead relative he has. And that just think
it's like a cliche thing in Hollywood right now?
Yeah, I think it's. I felt
like it's just overused.
Like it was a cliche thing that it's becoming this thing where the hero's going to have a point where they're going to be on the brink of death, and they're going to see some dead relative, and they're going to gain their powers. And so at first, when I first started watching that scene, it felt off. However, by the end of it, I was able to, make a 120, and I'm like, dang, that scene actually hit different.
Yeah, but this one we can have an excuse for. So I'm gonna throw this out here, okay? I don't know if this
Okay.
was like the
See,
actual
and
reasoning behind
I
it.
know, and I feel like I kind of know the
However,
direction you're gonna say with this. But the thing for me is it feels weird. Like, if you're going to make some explanation of it, the scarab helped this take place, I'm 100% with that. But it's just like, if you're an ordinary
yes,
Joe, let's
yes,
say
because
let's say
listen,
Batman dies and sees the ghost
hmm
of his parents and then comes back to and kicks tail. It just doesn't make sense for just a regular old dude, so there has to be something else there
yeah,
for it
but
to
he's
make
Batman.
sense.
He's
Yeah.
not just a regular old dude. He's Batman.
Well, it wouldn't make sense if it happened to Batman, but if it was something like,
Okay, so I think the scarab was helping him because
right,
in that moment, that's when the fusion with his neural links was happening.
right,
Like that in that specific moment, everything else was he was infused with except for the brain, and that was the process of fusing with the brain.
right,
So he shows his dad, gives the dad the dad has a pep talk with him, and then he accepts that Blue Beetle is forever, and the only way to actually live with it is to just live with it
right,
because he can't get rid of it.
yeah,
So accepting it is the best option,
yeah,
and realizing that this is now his purpose in life
yep,
and not some pre-law nonsense.
yeah,
I think it was more of a scarab type situation, not like this. Oh, I'm dying, so I just see my dad before heaven, and then I just decide not to go in.
right,
You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was that type of situation.
right. I mean, and because, like, I hate to even, like, make the comparison, but, like, weird thing is, we just had a scene like this in Guardians 3 when Rocket Raccoon almost dies.
I have not seen the movie yet.
Bro, I completely forgot that. Well, now spoiler alert, Rocket Raccoon basically goes to a heaven state place and ends up staying, to say the least.
So he basically dies.
Yeah, he dies, but
No, then so everything that I be seeing on social media is false about the movie doesn't have any deaths.
um it doesn't have deaths of main characters, to say the least.
So Rocket's not a main character.
Rocket is a main character and Rocket survives.
Not if he went to this heaven state and
Well, the thing
stayed.
is it did it just like the way Blue Beetle did it. His vitals are on the brink where they're about to bottom out, but they haven't bottomed out yet. You have the heaven scene, and then they just fully return. So he's not like completely
Anyway.
dead because is the moment he steps
Interesting.
into like the afterlife. This is kind of like that in between place in transition.
Interesting.
But the moment, like if it was the character and they made that decision to say, yes, I'm going on, that's when the vitals would bottom out. However, but as long as there's still the chance for them to come back, their vitals always have a slim beat to them. That's what I've noticed in movies I've watched. It's not like they usually bottom out, die, and then they're in
And then
heaven,
get rest.
they're in heaven, and then just basically just like, no one forget this place. I'm going back, and then just like vitals go from flatline to full functioning heartbeat again. It's usually they still got a slimmer of life left in them, but yeah. Other than that, I think it's about time we start winding this down just a tad bit, and I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Would you agree, Forever?
100%.
100%. It was a really good movie, and I think one of the best movies in the last 5 to 8 years from DC, to say the least.
Top 3 DCEU movie.
Right.
I'm standing by that.
Now,
I'll die on that hill. I really think Zack Snyder's Justice League cut is the only better movie of the entire DCEU. But people can make the argument that this movie is not tied to the DCEU, that is now James Gunn's verse.
right.
So it's the best DCU
direction
movie.
they take with it. Whichever direction they take with it.
I heard that Cavill, Gal Gadot, they all filmed scenes for the movie, but when James Gunn got hired, he cut those scenes because he wanted this movie to be a part of his universe and not tied to the Snyder Cut or the Snyderverse.
Which for me, I would.
Which was smart.
Stand by that decision. I stand by that.
I would have done the same thing.
Right.
But I did enjoy the name drops.
If they did throw the name drops in there. If they chose to make it part of the whole Snyderverse section, if they chose to include it in the DCU, definitely top movies in the DCU. However,
I really think it's second right now.
If they include this into the James Gunn universe, and this becomes the first movie, was Flashpoint, or was the Flash considered part of the
Flash is tied to the Snyderverse.
Oh yeah, so we've got an easy, basically number one spot for the Gunverse if this is canon.
Now, it's kind of in that gray area because James Gunn had nothing to do with writing, production, anything about this movie.
Right.
So we can't really judge this movie and be like, oh, okay, now I have faith in James Gunn because James Gunn still hasn't done nothing.
Right.
And I still do not have complete faith in James Gunn. And in fact, I'm highly doubting his decision making right now.
Right.
But we'll see. I feel like if this movie was kind of like a stepping stone for the future, I think DC's in good hands.
Yeah.
But WB has to realize that I think that nothing that they make right now is going to be profitable in any capacity.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a good reputation right now.
Oh yeah, totally.
And they just have to accept that and work towards building it back up.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like,
I think the only upcoming projects that are going to be profitable for DC is the Batman 2.
Yeah.
And maybe Superman Legacy. But I don't think anything else is.
Yeah.
Beetle, I'm hoping Blue Beetle does somehow cross into profitability.
How does the first Superman movies usually fare, box office and story-wise? When they reboot Superman, how does those introduction movies usually fare?
Well, I mean, it's Superman.
Right. So
let me Google. Hold on. Man of Steel box office numbers. It grossed $668 million worldwide, becoming the 9th highest grossing film of 2013.
All right. So
that was Man of Steel.
What was that? What did you say? Sorry.
$668 million.
$668 million in the box office. Is that global or domestic?
Worldwide.
Okay.
Global.
All right. Which that's actually better than most movies.
Which isn't bad
today.
However, that movie had a lot of hype.
Yeah.
Specifically because this was like the first movie that they were moving past Henry Cavill's Christopher Reeve's storyline.
Yeah.
And so this was like the rebooted universe of Superman. And it's obviously Superman, so it's going to be profitable.
Yeah.
The movie has its problems, though, but I guess that's a podcast for another day.
Yeah. Alarming.
But I think those are the only two projects coming up for DC that I think is going to be profitable.
I'll get to that in just a second. But Alarming Stone 10, if you're still here, this started out as a podcast for the new Blue Beetle movie that just came out and hit theaters. We went and watched it, did an entire podcast on it, and now we're, kind of in that closing remarks section talking about what we think about DC right now and directors and actors and so on and so on. So yeah, make sure that if you want to be a part of future podcasts, hit the follow button and ring the notification bell so you can see when these things start and tune in and get a good idea. And if you can't watch them live, my YouTube channel is linked in my profile, and you can go there and be able to watch these podcasts from the beginning. So, forever, um, what would you say we give this movie on a rating basis?
I give it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Really strong number.
Mm-hmm.
Really strong number.
Mm-hmm. Really strong. I think this is our third best movie that we reviewed.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like,
Oppenheimer, Across the Spider-Verse, and now this. I think that's our top three.
oh
I think
yeah,
that's our top three ratings.
yeah. Uh, what was those other movies we watched? Fast X was interesting. Flash was interesting.
And Flash was.
Flash was something.
I could talk about the Flash for probably hours.
Yeah.
That's how much I could pick that film apart.
Yeah. And now, moving on to me, I am going to have to join you in that boat, and I will give Blue Beetle a 9 out of 10 as well, because super hilarious,
W.
super good story, very strong characters. Characters.
Yeah,
It was just an all.
We got to just sit down. We just got and enjoy a film and not just have to like rack our brains on what it means for the future, what it means for anything. When you're just able to sit down and just enjoy it.
Right. And,
that's all it was.
And this movie just was fun. Was able to enjoy it with the guys. So you got any comments you want to make known before we call her here?
Jennifer can have my babies.
And with that, I say we close this podcast. So thank you for everyone who tuned in live and watched this. We will catch each and every one of you in the next one. So take care, guys.